3, 2, and
Welcome to the Game Case, a show for, well, anyone that plays World of Warcraft. The show rife with ramblings, tips, tricks, and goings-on in WoW. Here's your host, Chris Case.
Well, hello, hi, howdy, and welcome to episode 74 of The Game Case. I am Chris, also known as Cuddles, a Brewmaster Monk on Airy Peak in the Convert to Raid Guild.
And I'm Turt, a Beast Mastery Hunter on Airy Peak server, also in the Convert to Raid Guild.
This week, we're going to talk a little bit about our week in gaming, answer some questions from the Cuddle crew, and then we're going to be talking to one of the most amazing beards in all of Blizzard Entertainment. It's gone away. It's come back. I believe he is a giant St. Louis Cardinals fan, if I'm not mistaken, but he is one of my favorite people in the Blizzard Entertainment world. Gizmo Zord, how are you doing tonight?
I'll forgive that this time. I'll forgive the Cardinals thing this time. But I'm doing fantastic. It's a new day. It's a new year. And I'm a fire mage in the Convert to Raid Guild. So it's perfect. It's just a little Convert to Raid get together.
Yay. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to see us tonight. How was your week of life?
It has been fantastic. My family flew down. They're in town for another couple days. So it's been good getting a lot of time with them since I moved away from Kansas City to Jacksonville down here in the extreme cold, harsh winter. So I know they enjoy getting away from the wintertime, coming down here in the sun. But it's been nice. It's been a relaxing week. But you know what? It's the new year, and it's time to get back to business.
Nice.
Right on. Why don't we go ahead and dive right into what we've been up to this last week, either within or outside of the Blizzard universe. And before I let Gizmo kick that off, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Feliz Dia de Tres Reyes, or just, Happy weekend, whatever you guys did. Happy New Year. I hope everybody had a wonderful and fun and safe holiday. But Gizmo, what have you been doing over these last couple of holiday weeks? What have you been doing with gaming?
So, of course, all the Blizzard stuff as usual. Heroes of the Storm, Overwatch, World of Warcraft. I've kind of taken a break from Diablo and Hearthstone for a little bit here. And then also, since most of my gaming time is taken up by Blizzard things, I got sucked into the winter Steam sale again, which I had finally forgotten about until somebody reminded me, and there goes my money. So I played through a fantastic game called Super Hot. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's like $12 right now, and it's a pretty short game, but it's like a first-person shooter, really old-style graphics, and really good times. Definitely suggest checking it out.
That actually sounds really cool. I love it. Every time a Steam sale happens, it's like thousands of wallets cry out in pain at one moment.
Yes,
I was able to survive it this year. Nice. But before I talk about it, T, how was your week of gaming?
Not bad. I have been doing the Warcraft thing. Suramar still sucks, but I love it. It's so pretty. It's so gorgeous. You die a lot though. All the time. So I've been doing that, and then I did get Overwatch, and I suck really bad. So bad. Oh, so bad. I think people in the game know that I suck, so someone will kill me a couple times and then be like, oh, look for this chick. Just look for her. We can just kill her. So it's bad, but it's fun. I will get there eventually. Other than that, I think that's it as far as Blizzard games go. Outside of Blizzard, I did get the Skyrim remastered that Xbox had on sale for its like 12 days of sales or whatever it was. So I've been replaying that with, the silly mods and stuff, but it's been fun. Lots of exciting things. What about you, Cuddles? How's your week of gaming been?
Well, like I said, I mostly survived the Steam sale. Huge thank you to a very special CTR friend for gifting me Among the Wolves, a Telltale game. I just wrapped up Telltale Game of Thrones, which was incredible and amazing, and one of the guests best like Telltale games that I've ever played. Outside of that, and back into Blizzard, Hearthstone, a little bit of WoW. I've tried to play Heroes, and we'll talk about that later. I'm trying so hard, but really just a lot of Hearthstone and really enjoying. Like I tried to get into each one of the games and see some of the, at least my main games, like WoW and Hearthstone, Diablo, and Heroes, and see the cool little kind of winter events
Yeah.
that they're doing. Like I used to be for many years I was a console gamer, so I didn't see these cool like winter. I started playing WoW. I think it was like 2.5 years ago, and it was right before Winter Veil. I think 2014, and I remember walking into Stormwind and going, "What? This is awesome!" Like it was really really impressive. But yeah, it's been a really fun week and really relaxing. A lot of family time and a lot of fun presents and cool stuff like that. But I think that's probably enough for me. Why don't we go ahead and take some of the questions from the Cuddle Crew? Now, before we dive in and do these, you're probably wondering, like, wow, I'm part of the Cuddle Crew. I want to ask questions. However could I go about this? Well, it's simple, friends. Go to bit.ly/Cuddles Discord. That's bit.ly/Cuddles Discord. Jump into our Discord server, and guys, there's a little tab right there. It's a little text channel. You're familiar with it. Everybody's using Discord. That's like we've all deleted TeamSpeak and Skype and all those other things. Discord, please give us video. But there's a little text channel. This is questions for the show. Just pop your questions there. We'll make sure to ask them right here on this show for some of our wonderful guests. So our very first question comes from Robot Unicron. And T, I think I'll let you go ahead and read it.
Perfect. Convert to Raid is great, and I just discovered that you do Lord of the Storm. Do you plan to do any more innovation and content creation past this, or are you solely focused on those two items right now?
So this, and he asked a second question here too, and I kind of want to combine them because they go hand in hand. So the second one was, how do you balance your time between streaming and doing podcasts? Do you have a wild card of a job or school in there too that adds more to busy hours in your day? So this is a fantastic question, and it's a thing that a lot of people that don't do podcasting, I don't think about, and I know it's something I never thought about before I started doing podcasting. But short answer to the first question, these are the only two things I'm concentrating on right now, because I do have a full-time job, not a wild card part-time job or anything like that. So I'm working 40 plus hours a week, plus these two podcasts. And in order to stay up to date on the games I'm covering in the podcast, I can't branch out anymore, because you put so much time into these that really it's hard to even find the spare time for me to play Heroes of the Storm and World of Warcraft outside of just studying for, the latest patch notes or new stuff that's going on in the raids. So it's super difficult, and as much as I would love to branch out there, and maybe someday I could, but with my current job right now and everything, it's just got to be these two. And yeah, trying to find the balance, that is the key. I still haven't found it yet, but one of these days I will.
Yeah, I think from the outside looking in, it's so easy to go, well, you spend an hour or however much time people actually see, 57 minutes, an hour and a half, however long your podcast or show is. And they go, well, you only do that. Like, can't you do like 8 more?
Yeah, it's no, the technology is the problem. Like, you run into problems like right before the show all the time. So you're always spending like at least an hour pre-show to make sure everything's ready and set up. In like right at this moment for the podcast, more on Lords of the Storm, because Pat handles the Convert to Raid stuff. I'm just trying to think of things to up production for the live show. And it was not this last week, but the week before. I came home from work, got home at like 6 o'clock, and decided to mess around and dark into the deep, dark hits of audio routing. And I was wrecking my brain. John Horseman kicked tripod, hopped on Skype with me and was wrecking his brain with me. And then Pat came on. And when all was said and done, it was like 11:30 at night.
Oh, wow.
Just trying to figure out, audio routing, how to work it, what you can't do. And, it's a typical step in podcasting. So lots of those nights.
Yep. We're always constantly fiddling with stuff, and it's never like I'm going to click this button and change this thing and it's just going to be better. No.
You click a button to change one thing to make that better, and it breaks everything else, and then you got to figure out how to make them all work together.
Yes. By the end of it, you've moved away 3 states, you've burnt down 2 homes, you've converted religion several times, and all of a sudden you don't even know who you are. It's incredible and amazing. And I won't speak for Gizmo, but I want to ask you this question. Do you find that as a podcaster, things in your life that interest you, you really want to podcast about them? Like all of the things?
Yes. So I have so many things I've wanted to podcast over, like outside of gaming, and within other games, that I wish so much I could do. And that's why I said, maybe someday I'll have the time, I'll have a job that allows me to podcast more to where I can do those and pursue those. But yeah, right now, not a chance, unfortunately.
Right on. Well, our next question comes to us from Alessander, who asks, why Gizmo?
Oh, why Gizmo? So the short answer, I don't really know. It's happened when I started playing WoW. My initial WoW character actually was Sindar, and that's because that carried over from when I played EverQuest, like when I was super young. So I don't know. It was an elfy name. I'm pretty sure it was randomized in EverQuest, and I just carried that over. And then I think the Gizmo comes from, I think my first character that was actually named Gizmo was a goblin. And I think I gave him the big, huge, Dumbo ears. And I'm trying to understand why I came up with Gizmo. Maybe because they tinker around with stuff and it kind of looks like a gremlin. I don't know. But Gizmo was sweet, so I stuck with it. And it's just been that ever since.
Woo! That's really awesome. I'm glad that you've named yourself after the best Christmas movie of all time. At least one of the characters in the best Christmas movie of all time. Before anyone says Die Hard, I don't care. Die Hard isn't as cute as cuddly as Gizmo. Bright light, bright light.
I haven't watched Gremlins in a long time, actually. I probably should.
Every Christmas. We actually did a group watch with a bunch of the community. We used Rabbit. And we all watched Gremlins. It was a lot of fun. Now, do you role play with any of your characters? And if you do, what's your favorite character to role play with?
I haven't really gotten into the role playing. I was never into the tabletop scene or anything like that, and I never played on a role playing server. Had I started on a role playing server whenever I was young, I probably would have grown up into that and I would have been more into it. But just because I never was, I was always playing with friends who never really role played. I don't really do that on any of those characters. However, I do have a friends that since I moved down to Jacksonville, I've always wanted to try tabletop gaming and Dungeons and Dragons and stuff. And we're actually in the process. I think we're going to be doing that here within the next month or so. I've created my first character. I've got his background story. He's a wood elf ranger named Gizmo,
Nice.
of course. And I'm super, super excited for that because I've found that while I don't really enjoy writing or anything that much, I fell out of it when I got out of school, but I love creating stories and characters, which has actually recently gotten me back into writing. I've been writing a few papers and stuff that I'm not really doing anything with them, just writing them to write them. Maybe I'll do something with them someday. So I really enjoyed writing like the background story and everything to give to the dungeon master over this character.
Nice. That is awesome. It kind of answers our next question, actually. Have you done any creative writing or art, and what pieces were you happiest with?
Yeah. So, yeah, as far as the writing, not really. But except for recently. But art, I actually initially went to art or school for graphic design and got into that. But I fell away from there because the job I had in graphic design wasn't really where I wanted to go with it. And like I have a tablet and stuff, and I free sketch in my own time. But again, with the podcasting and the gaming, I haven't really had time to do as much of the artsy stuff, but which is a shame because I do consider myself, like I said, a really creative person, and I love creating those stories. So hopefully someday I'll get back into it.
Right on. That's really cool. I love that there's so many of us in podcasting that this is just one of our creative outlets.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one of them. I can't draw a stick figure correctly. They look horrible. But that's so cool. I hope that we can get to see some more like Gizmo art in the future with all of your free time that you speak of.
Yeah, like literally, I started out when we started Lords of the Storm. Like I had created the logo for us and everything, but once things picked up and got moving, like I didn't even have time because I'm not a great artist, so it takes me a long time to be happy with my work. So as far as like our overlay for our live shows and stuff, I didn't even do that stuff because I knew I would spend forever on it. So Whammo, of course, did that stuff for us, which has been awesome. And we've had some fans send us in some stuff. So I wish I could do it. I really do. But I appreciate everyone else's creative skills lending to my lack of time.
And finally, we have Totally Drunk asking, I'm in the middle of leveling up heroes in order to participate in Team League. Do you have any helpful tips? I've recently gotten back into Heroes of the Storm thanks to the Nexus Challenge. And I'm in...
I think that question just got swapped around.
Yeah, that totally
did.
Totem, okay, his name is Totally Drunk, so we can figure
it's his fault.
He was probably fairly inebriated. But here, Totem asks, I've recently gotten back into Heroes of the Storm thanks to the Nexus Challenge, and I'm in the middle of leveling up heroes in order to participate in Team League. Do you have any helpful tips when it comes to preparing for ranked play? I felt most comfortable while playing as Lily, Sylvanas, and Zarya, but since I don't keep up with HOTS as much as I do Overwatch, I'm not sure if picking off meta is as frowned upon.
All right. Well, first off, congrats on getting back into Heroes because it's an awesome game. As far as the number one tip I always tell people, and if you've listened to my show, you've heard this. If you've listened to Convert to Raid, you've probably heard this at some point. The best thing to do to prepare you for ranked play is just play every hero. There's a huge free hero rotation every week. Level them all up to level 5. This gets you gold that you can buy heroes with. It lets you figure out what heroes you like and dislike. Lets you figure out what roles you like and dislike. And more importantly, it lets you figure out how to counter heroes. So once you pick up this a hero and play it to level 5, that's probably, if you have a stim pack, I don't know, 5 or 6 games, you can learn like their cooldown timers, what the rotation is like, what to look out for when you encounter them in game. And it makes things that's the number one thing that helped me grow as a Heroes player. As far as the off meta, really that's not something people need to be concerned with unless you are like pushing Grandmaster ladder. And even then you'll see off meta picks all the time. I know Trixler, if anyone ever watches his streams, he's like the off meta king. He still plays Murky, and he played Artanis before Artanis was good again. He played Diablo while Diablo was still rough. So really, just whatever you're good at, because off meta can even help you out in situations because a lot of people don't see those heroes, so they forget how to play against them. So just stick to what your strengths are. Don't worry about the meta. You're going to actually probably get your heroes more often because they're not banned or picked. So just play whatever's comfortable to you, and the rest will fall into place.
So, did I officially just get permission to play Murky
Yeah, absolutely.
all the time?
Mhm.
That's it.
Okay, then not all the time. Still, Murky fits in, but it still has to fit into the right composition.
Well, and before you try to defend my play of Murky, I asked that jokingly to kind of follow up with something a little bit more serious. How many, as a starting out player, how many heroes should I begin to feel comfortable with to start feeling like, I mean, because there's getting to be so many heroes, and there even was at launch. How many do I need to be comfortable with? One healer, two healers, one assassin, two assassins? Do I need to play all of them flawlessly?
So
where should I aim as a beginning player?
as far as like the roster that you want to be able to take into ranked play, you don't need to be like proficient with every single hero out there. And I actually, so it used to be before you got in ranked play, your account, you had to have account level 30, I think, for Hero League, and then 40 for Team League.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure they actually took that off, and you just have to have the correct number of heroes now, which I think is 14 heroes at level 5 or higher to make up for the bans and then the drafting. But for my rosters each season, I don't try and go in with every hero because I'll never be proficient with a hero. If you're just starting out and you're still trying to figure out what role you want to play, then I would say probably try and have at least 2 from each. And then from there, once you figure out, okay, I am a ranged assassin specialist player, then I'll try and have like 3 from each of those, and then like 1 support, 1 tank, just in case I need to fill that role. So don't spread yourself out too thin, but at the same time, you need to have enough to be able to cover if something goes terribly, terribly wrong in a draft.
Okay.
Nice.
That actually makes it seem a little bit more bite-sized. It's like, as I Run to Drink said here in the chat room, he stopped playing because there was so many heroes, even at the beginning. And I think it can be, especially for those of us that aren't familiar with MOBAs that have a load screen with 5,800 heroes. League. I don't think they actually have that many. But it can be a little bit daunting, and you can feel a little bit lost. So knowing that you can just pick and choose. How do you see any value for the new player in playing versus AI, or would you suggest they dive right in and do quick matches?
That's going to depend on the player. I didn't play much AI when I first hopped in, and this was really my first MOBA experience. Just because it's okay if you want to do that. And there's actually, like, whenever certain heroes will come out, I will actually take those into AI matches at first, just if they're who was it I took in there last? I think it was Alarak, because his telekinesis, that was the first vector casting hero we had in the game, and it was really weird, and I just wanted to figure out how he worked mechanically. But the thing you need to watch out for if you start out in AI is just don't get too comfortable in there, because it is a completely different game. And real players do not act like the AI players do. Even at the top tier elite AI, like, now I can go in there and just steamroll. So, try and wean yourself off of it. If that's the game you like, if it's a MOBA, so there are some toxic players, and if you just don't like playing against that, that's fine. If that's what you want the game to be, that's A-okay. As far as there getting to be way too many heroes, that's something I was initially kind of worried about. That's why this is my first MOBA. I tried playing League and Dota, and had no idea who to pick going into those games. Granted, it was easier for me in Heroes because I actually knew who these heroes were from playing all the Blizzard universes. And even when a new hero comes out, I can kind of feel how they're going to play before they're even put into the game, just because I know that fantasy and I kind of feel like I'm that character when I'm playing them. That's not what it's like for League. So it's a little bit better there if you are a Blizzard gamer. But yeah, just the free hero rotation, I guess, is just kind of stick to it. And there's a ton of great sites out there as well with like tier lists and everything like that if you really are having trouble trying to figure out what hero to start with.
Right on. And I know we've already mentioned it, and we'll mention it again later. But since assuming the people that are listening to this enjoy listening to podcasts, is there any sort of like Heroes of the Storm podcast that they might want to listen to? Do you know of any of those?
Oh man, I do not actually. Okay. No. So yeah, I do a Heroes of the Storm podcast called Lords of the Storm with two of my good buddies, TBK Zord and Multizord, from back in Kansas City. And you know, we try and cover anything from tips for beginners to people trying to improve their ranked play, as well as the latest on esports. We are not going to blow your mind if you are a Grandmaster player, but you know, we do have our opinions on all the news and the changings and the patch notes that are coming out, which is one of the things I really actually like about the gaming podcasting community in general, because you get something different from every show. And I think when you combine the knowledge from all the shows, it's really helpful. So you can, check out Lords of the Storm. Into the Nexus is fantastic. Core with Scott Johnson, of course, everything he touches is gold. Heroes Forge is something completely unique where they just create a new hero and kit every week. They have a guest on to, kind of build a hero that they would like to see in the game. And there's a lot of them out there, and I know I'm gonna forget some here, so just check them out. They're all good.
I would be in absolute trouble with someone that I will see in person on Saturday if I didn't mention Hotscast.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yes.
They're members of D20 Crit and Nerdy Char, and I'm not even gonna say her name because I always get it wrong. I always get it wrong. But at Nerdy Char over on Twitter, she's awesome. So, guys, that was a whole lot of fun. Thank you so much for the questions from the Cuddle Crew. Hopefully we got those all answered to your satisfaction. Why don't we jump right into the meat and potatoes? And Gizmo, tell us a little bit about you. We've talked a lot about Giz already, but tell us a little bit more about you. Who is the Gizmo Zord?
Who is the Gizmo? All right. Well, I'm a 26-year-old male from Kansas City, Missouri, born and raised. But no, I've been, as far as, me, the gamer, I have been gaming pretty much my entire life, but I never really considered myself a gamer. Growing up, I was playing one, maybe two sports at a time, year round. But I think it was Final Fantasy VII. Which, of course, when I first played, I was too young to really understand that game. But Chocobo Racing, man, Chocobo Racing is what turned me into a gamer. So thank you, Final Fantasy. And then from there, shortly after, I started playing World of Warcraft, and I just kind of never looked back. And, got in the Blizzard universe. And I actually, I said I never looked back. I actually almost fell out of the Blizzard universe in Cataclysm when my guild disbanded. But luckily at the time I was listening to Convert to Raid, hopped over to Airy Peak, and since then everything has just taken over. Now it's Blizzard all the time. As far as where the Zord comes from, because we get this question a lot, the Zords were the Zord Lords, hence the Lords of the Storm. As a Kansas City-based group of gamers, we were all just friends, and that was our initial guild in World of Warcraft, the Zord Lords. And we recently picked back up a couple years ago, just gaming together, doing LAN parties with anywhere from 5 to like 20 of us in a house, playing either PlayStation, Xbox, PC, and that's where the podcast came from. We all got into Heroes, and we talked about Heroes nonstop. And we figured, why not throw a mic down and record it, even though we have no idea what we're doing, and see if people want to listen to it. And it turns out people like listening to it, so we're still doing it.
Very nice. Well, we've talked about Lord of the Storms. Now, there's another podcast you do.
Mhm.
I don't know if anyone's heard of it. It's called Convert to Raid. Tell us about that, how you got into it, what's it like working with the guys. Just kind of tell us about it.
Yeah, so Convert to Raid, and it's absolutely amazing, and I'm super thankful to be a part of that group. It was the first podcast I had ever listened to, which it's mind-blowing. Like I said, they are the reason that I'm still playing Blizzard games, because I almost fell off. And yeah, after starting Lords of the Storm, and that was going, I got invited to come guest on Convert to Raid a couple times. And then from there, Coltrane had retired from the show, and they invited me on full time to kind of fill a rotating chair of Heroes of the Storm and raiding role for the show. And it's been absolutely incredible. Pat, Darius, Sharku, Tatva, Tovo, John, and Mick, who can no longer do gaming podcasts, but was on there for a short time, are all amazing guys, fantastic podcasters, and I learn a ton from them. And look forward to doing that show every time it's my turn to go.
Very nice. And you just mentioned this, so you do the raiding scene a little bit. You guys raid tonight. Sorry, guys. What's it like being on, the Mythic team? I know you've kind of, I think, taken a step back a little bit, but what's it like doing that high end kind of go?
So, and this actually falls into the, having time to game category. So I have recently taken a step back from raiding. I still, I like to do heroic and runs and stuff with them. Lately, it's been crazy. It's been hectic with holidays, family in town, all that stuff. But it's really intense. And that I say that being from a Mythic team that raids only 2 nights a week for 3 hours and then 3.5 hours. So when you're in that kind of scenario, while you're only raiding those 2 nights, you are preparing for raid outside of those nights, because you don't have time to mess around going in if you're really wanting to push progression. Everyone needs to know the fights. They need to have all their, their top level gear that they can get. They need to have their enchants. They need to have their gems. And while it's absolutely amazing and it's something I love doing, it's not something I can do at the level I need to do to not hinder my team right now, which is kind of why I pulled myself from one of those spots. I probably would have gotten kicked from that spot fairly soon as well, because we're a very open team. Things can get a little heated sometimes, but again, that's just because we all want to progress together, and yeah, it's fantastic. But I think I'm gonna kind of go back to the lighter rating to just kind of see the content, enjoy the game, and not have to be as stressed out about it.
Very true.
Yeah, I've found even my casual team, like I am nowhere near a Mythic Raider, but I've had to tell like my 1 night a week casual team that sorry guys, I gotta maybe next year. It's it's tough balancing the life things.
It is.
And to know that moment, I have to applaud you to know that moment that you're going to, that you're not at that place where you can be there with the team, and having the chutzpah, as it were, to to tell your team like, hey, I need to take a step back. Because so many try to hang on, and then there's those interesting conversations that come up during raid.
Yeah, and it's again, it kind of sucks because we get, I'll get questions all the time of, hey, why don't you guys give your input on, mythic rating and stuff on the show more? And it's really wish that we could, but I think, if you're just doing a podcast in general, you're not going to be able to put that work in if you're working a full-time job and have a life outside of it anyways. I think it was, who was it? Brutal and his guild Static did a hardcore rating podcast or mythic rating podcast a while back. I can't remember the name of it, but I love listening to it. And that's a completely different thing because they are podcasting on the top level rating. So they're kind of doing that pre-raid work and stuff for their show. Yeah. To whereas if we did that and, convert to raid just so that we could raid mythic, it wouldn't be the community show that it is, because we want to cover everything, be able to connect with anywhere from casual players up to that mythic level. So it's, it's not because we are casual players or don't like the game anymore that we don't mythic raid. It's that we don't want to be the hindrance to a mythic team, just so that we can be able to talk about it. And it's a very difficult balance to find. And like I said earlier, still one I'm trying to find every week.
Yeah. No. Since we're talking about convert to raid, there is something that I would like to discuss specifically about that show and some of the people on that show, and that specifically being Darius. Is he quite as lovable and huggable as we all know him to be on convert to raid?
Before I express my feelings of him on here, I want to express my first kind of encounter with him. So this was before I transferred over to Airy Peak. I kind of made the leap. I had messaged him prior to moving over about wanting to try out for the hardcore team he had at the time. And he's like, yeah, we're still doing trials and stuff. Transfer over, message me, we'll get you in one of our nights. So I transferred my character over, paid for the transfer change and the race change, or faction change, and was messaging him and never got a response, ever. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just transferred. And I'm not, what am I supposed to do? He completely ditched me. What a jerk. And I told him about that on the show a couple months ago, and it was hilarious. But so that was my first encounter with him. But really, Darius is a lovable guy. He has the hard exterior, but he tells things how it is. That's kind of that's what he does, and it's super needed. And while that may get a lot of hate from people that watch a show, like I said earlier, people are like, "Oh, you guys don't even like the game anymore. Why do you have a show on it?" It's like, no, we do like the game. That's why people are hard on games, because they like them. They want to be the best they can be. So he's fantastic. I know with his work and everything, his life has been crazy lately. So he's taken a slight break, but we hope to get him back here, because he's a fantastic co-host to work with. He was a fantastic raid leader whenever he was leading our raid team, and he's just a good guy. But continue to send him random things in mail in game, because he loves it.
So I have to people that listen to this show will know, but Draven Dresden had, I think, the left shark thing had kind of gotten started, and then Draven Dresden had he started a little bit more with let's send them to Darius. And then I may or may not have taken some time and actually done up a whole let's send these things to Darius in a soundbite and sent them to several other podcasts in the WoW universe. I got to talk to Darius at BlizzCon, and he pulled me aside because at some point he found out that I had done that. And what I did not realize is Left Shark is a Are you sure you want to delete this item?
Yes.
So,
And towards the end, we actually encourage people to start characters, send their left sharks to that, then send them to Darius, and then delete the character so he couldn't resend them back. So evidently, some of his busyness in life, I will apologize for creating some of that. I can't even imagine. I don't know if I would have kept on logging in the game. I think I might have given up. So kudos to Darius for sticking that out. And I have to, I've said this several times before, but special thank you for something that Darius did for me when I was at TwitchCon. I owe him a very big one. Also, not at all for, sending thousands of left sharks his way. But still
and having
send those
to delete them individually.
Yeah, and not even like delete it, but having to type delete.
Yeah.
Each and every. I'm sure he macroed it at some point. He's a smart young man. But jeez, that had to be just ridiculously. I can't even imagine. T, what else you got for Giz?
For Giz, well, we kind of already talked about this. I'll just see if you have anything else to add. When we have people on the show who are really big into games, we've kind of gotten in the habit of like, what's your 30-second elevator pitch on fill in your game? So is there anything else you have for someone who's starting off in Heroes, or maybe is, because we kind of touched on this, ready to take that leap from AI to actually playing on teams? What would be any other advice or tips or tricks besides things we've gone over already?
Making the leap from AI to PvP in Heroes, the number one thing is play cautious, because, like I said, they're not going to act like AI heroes. Whenever, they're not just going to let you chase them down. They will turn on you and they will punish you for it. Yes. So there's nothing wrong with playing cautious, just soaking lanes to get that experience initially. Follow, your team arounds while you're initially getting into the PvP, to learn the rotations, and just kind of, don't try and lead. A good hero to make that switch on is a Lily, because you can literally stick with one of your assassins, just keep hitting Q while you're following them, put a dragon on them, and kind of learn what the actual players are going to play like when you're playing against them.
Right on. Kind of a selfish question, because we have the CTR 4-year anniversary coming up, so I'm going to throw it out there. Would you say, if you are making that leap, would it be worth it to try and get some like 5v5s going, play against people who may be more willing to be like, hey, I noticed you played so-and-so and you said this when you should have done that? Like, would that be a great way to learn, or should you just jump in blind?
Absolutely it is, because, you're still playing against players. You're playing against people that or at least kind of know for the most part. So the chance of toxicity being there is less. And it's less stressful for you going in, because it's more of a lighthearted game. And there's a lot of great communities out there, Lords of the Storm, that that you can play with. We have a Discord with over 800 people now in it. We're super easy to find a group to play with. Everyone in there is super kind. We have players from beginning players to players that are grandmasters, which is incredible. And I know A-Move has a community, Core has a community. So definitely that's a really good point. It would be absolutely beneficial to kind of group up with some friends. Even if you can't do a full 5v5 custom, at least being on a team with the majority, so even 3 is really good, just because you guys can communicate while you're playing.
Right on.
I personally find I don't like to do that, because people just tell me that I'm doing everything wrong. And I'm like, yo, bro, I'm just murking the bottom lane here. Like, I'm gonna put my murky egg down here. I'm gonna do my things. This might be why I don't like Heroes. Because I don't like instruction.
Yeah,
that could be it. You're gonna convince me to get back into it.
I will.
It's gonna be a thing. So I don't know. I did want to bring this up before we dive into shout outs and wrap up the show. I wanted to quiz you really quick. The background. I don't know if you have Twitch up. Do you have Twitch? He doesn't have Twitch up. I'm seeing this in his
I have
face.
Twitch up.
Oh, the background
it's
for the
late.
show. Do you see? Does that look familiar at all to you?
Which one? Who's back? Oh, that's Kansas City. That's the Union Station.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. That's like right where I was.
Yeah. I appreciate you for putting that on there because I had not looked at it, but yeah, I immediately recognized that. It's fantastic. It's a beautiful city.
It really is. From the very little bit that I saw, like I want to go back. I totally want to go back. It's a beautiful place.
Yeah, we had that picture. I actually had to look for a minute just because of the way Union Station was lit up. American Ninja Warrior came to town once and sat up right in front of Union Station right there in the parking lot. Which I have some friends from rock climbing and stuff that work on that show. So I got to like go behind the back scenes and try out some of the stuff, and it was super cool. But if anyone has not been to Kansas City, and if you're driving somewhere and you have the option of driving through Kansas City, you should definitely check it out.
Yeah, I will say when I had the convention that I went to scheduled there, I was like, Kansas City? Oh, great. This is going to be cool. But then, like, the very little bit that I saw the city and the feel and the people, like, really, really, really cool place. I want to go back and, like, spend a couple days there. Mm-hmm. It seems, and that, oh my gosh, we had talked about this a long time ago, the relationship between the baseball team and the city.
Yeah, and the football team and the baseball team's relationship with the football team. It's all really incredible.
Really? Oh, that's so cool. Because I was there the last, it was right, I think it was when y'all clinched to go into the World Series. Mm-hmm. Or maybe it wasn't one of the World Series weekends. But they were like, the players were down at like the bar right below us.
Oh, yeah, because you were at Power and Light.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where like pretty much after every game, even Chiefs games and stuff, like that's where they go just to hang out and stuff, and they're really interactive with all the fans and everything. So it's a good place.
That's amazing. Growing up here in the Central Florida area, like we've never had that from like you see Bucks players or Tampa Bay Lightning's players, but it's not like after the game they go buy the entire bar a round of drinks. Like we don't. It's such a cool. It's just such a cool relationship for a city to have with a sports team.
Yeah, it was almost concerning at some points because like it was during the playoffs and like the Royals would have like won a series or something, and it's like they're out partying. It's like, no, guys, you guys can't do that yet. We're still in the playoffs. Get home, get some sleep.
Funny story.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
The Kansas City Royals is I think it's called a sister team to the Burlington Bees, which is where I'm from, Iowa. So like whenever there's the Burlington Bees game, they'd have tons of Kansas City stuff and like hype up. Although most of us are Cubs fans, they'd hype you guys up really well. But
fantastic. That's good.
They would have players come and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I can't remember the tiers of baseball, but we were a low tier, very low tier.
I know. So the Omaha Storm Chasers are our AAA team. So I would imagine that'd be either single A or double A, but I don't know that far. It would be single A because double A is the Arkansas Naturals.
We must be single A then, really low.
Nice. We have I'm actually in, for those that don't know, I'm in Lakeland, Florida, and we have the Detroit Tigers here. So I'm a huge Tigers fan. They were here before the Rays were even a thing. But as I was growing up, KC did spring training here at an incredible place called Boardwalk and Baseball that was actually a theme park and a spring training venue, like just outside of Orlando. And I can remember they had one of the very first log, I guess, is it a log flume? It's like it's a little like you're in like a little fake log and you go up and then you, like it's on water and then you go down and everybody gets wet.
Oh, yeah.
They had one of the first one of those in the area. But I can remember, like, before I was a Tigers fan, I was a KC fan. And I have a little like, kids KC hat. And I was always, like, my T-ball teams we were always the Royals. So a little bit of like throwback there for you guys. But now that we're just talking about Kansas City tourism,
Random stuff.
why don't we go ahead and do shout outs? Giz, do you have any shout outs for tonight?
Let's see. I just want to give a shout out to my two co-hosts from Lords of the Storm, Multi and TBK. They helped me out a ton with the show, and it would not be where it's at without them there. And then as well, just everyone from the Convert Trade community. It really is an amazing community, not just for gaming, but in general. Everyone here is awesome. And again, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the Convert Trade community. So thank you guys.
Aw.
Aw, that's so cute. T, how about you?
Huge shout out actually to Cuddles, because as many of you are probably aware, I missed the last show and he had to solo show again. I did listen to it. I'm so sad I missed Ben. But huge shout out for picking up my slack while I was dying. And then shout out to the CTR community as well, because we are gearing up for our 4-year anniversary. In 2 weeks, we kick it off. And you guys are coming through with some amazing donations. Speaking of Convert to Mythic, they are actually giving away a Mythic Emerald Nightmare run, which is awesome. So just huge shout out to you guys as we make year number 4 the best one yet. And if you have any questions about the event, just let me know. But yeah, huge shout out, guys.
Oh, well, and from me, first and foremost, of course, gigantic shout out to Giz.
Yes.
When I called you one of my favorite people in the Blizzard community, like, I'm not exaggerating. I love you, man.
I appreciate that a lot.
Well, it's always, I think it was probably about 10 minutes into my time at the Hilton Bar this year when, like, our eyes met across the lobby. And the hug happened. Like, it was just, I love running into you, man. You're a great guy. I really look up to and respect what you're doing with podcasting and bearding. One day I'll get there. Never. It's not going to happen.
Next time I struggle with if I'm going to shave the beard or not, I'll just remember that you said that and make sure, it stays for Cuddles. It stays for Cuddles.
It has to, because this is literally what you see here this is my Duck Dynasty. This is all I got. I'm my own Uncle Si right now. This is really it. Outside of that, guys, huge shout out to Rubber Chicken Coalition. I'm gonna try to catch up with you guys for next year. My raid team in Convert to Raid. I haven't felt right hopping in and just snagging gear and not pulling weight. Even though we're not a mythic team, I know I can see we're at that point where, like, progression is becoming a thing. It's like we want to kill these bosses before next year, and I'm not going to be that guy, guys. It's not that I don't love you all, but I'll be back soon. And huge shout out to T for everything that she does. We're like booked with guests through like February.
Yes.
And if a little bit of background behind the scenes, I'll pull back the curtain here. I normally, before Tour Arts came along, I would book shows. We recorded on Thursday nights. We used to at 10 p.m. And I would book shows, guests at like 8:30 on Thursday nights. So it was like, hey, who's online? You want to come on this podcast thing that I do? She's been a wonderful addition to the show. I hope you guys are enjoying her. I know you are. We're getting great feedback. And little spoiler, we did just talk to one of our favorite people. Mr. Marconin is going to be doing some stuff behind the scenes for us. You'll hopefully stop hearing my horrible radio, like top 40 radio intro and outro that has been going for nearly 2 years now. But yeah, I really appreciate you, T. And guys, this brings me to a very important part of the show where I get down on my virtual knees and I beg and I plead for you guys to leave those all-important 5-star iTunes reviews. Now, guys, remember that is 5 stars for the Game Case Show, 2 stars for South of KC Barbecue, your discount Kansas City barbecue outlet. They're not actually in Kansas City, but they talk about some discount, possibly, unknown sourced barbecue. You probably don't want to go there. You don't want to give those guys 2 stars. If 5 stars to the Game Case Show, I would really appreciate it. Gizmo, where can people find you on the internets?
Oh, you can find me all over the place. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch at GizmoZord. You can find my podcast, Lords of the Storm, on those sites as well, at Lords of the Storm. And then, of course, Convert to Raid, which is Tuesday nights. Now that the new year has started, we're going to get back up and going this year. And that live show, again, is Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Central. And, yeah, super excited for the new year and to see what it has in store for all of us.
Right on. Now, T, what about you?
You can find me Turarts on Twitter and Discord, or you can email turartsctr@gmail.com.
Woohoo! Now, guys, that is going to do it for episode 74. If you'd like to join our live audience and hang out in the chat room, come join us on twitch.tv/thegamecase at 10 p.m. Eastern time each and every Sunday. You'll also find me here almost every other day of the week, streaming, laughing, generally doing horrible things with my chat room. So thank you guys so much for listening to episode 74 of The Game Case. You can find me on Twitter at The Game Case. You can find the show at The Game Case Show. You can download us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, MySpace, Friendster. I don't know if we're on those things, but you can definitely find us on iTunes. I don't know. You can catch recordings of the live show or all sorts of fun and sometimes weird videos on youtube.com/thegamecase, or find all of the things on one of the last times that I say The Game Case, thegamecase.com. Guys, that's going to do it for tonight. T, Gizmo, say bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Game Case out.
Thank you for joining us this week inside The Game Case. Please join us next week for more news, tips, and ramblings about the World of Warcraft. Game Case out.